She thought firing him would make her stronger. But what if that single decision is exactly what's about to destroy everything she built? Because now, in the trailer for Landman Season 3, Episode 1, something feels different. Something feels wrong. And it all starts with Tommy, the same man everyone underestimated, the same man Cammy believed she could just remove like a broken piece of equipment. Gone. Done. No consequences. Or so she thought. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. When you remove the one person holding everything together, you don't gain control. You invite chaos. And that's exactly what's starting to happen. The trailer doesn't show us a confident Cammy stepping forward with power and control. No, it shows hesitation, pressure, and something far more dangerous, doubt. The kind of doubt that doesn't scream, it whispers. The kind that creeps in when you're alone, when you realize the numbers don't add up, when the people around you stop trusting your decisions. And Tommy isn't gone in the way she expected. He didn't disappear into nothing. He didn't fade away. No, he moved. Quietly, strategically, building something, watching, waiting. And now, when Cammy least expects it, he's not just relevant again, he's necessary. Isn't that ironic? The man she thought she could replace is now the only one who can possibly fix what's about to break. And this is where things get interesting. Because this isn't just about a firing anymore. This isn't just about pride or ego or a bad business decision. This is about control, power, and consequences that don't show up immediately, but always show up eventually. Cammy didn't just lose an employee, she lost balance. And in an industry like this, losing balance doesn't just slow you down, it brings everything crashing down. Because think about it, what happens when the person who understood the system better than anyone is suddenly on the outside looking in? What happens when the relationships that once held everything together are no longer yours to rely on? What happens when the one person who could quietly fix problems isn't there to fix them anymore? That's the situation Cammy is stepping into now. Not power, not control, but damage control. And the worst part? She knows it. You can see it in the way she hesitates, the way she reacts instead of leads, the way every decision now feels heavier because now there's no safety net. No Tommy in the background making sure things don't collapse. No quiet solutions, no hidden fixes, just her. And the pressure of realizing maybe she shouldn't have let him go. Because once you fire someone like Tommy, you don't just lose a worker, you lose a system, a network, a kind of stability that doesn't come back just because you change your mind. And now that stability is gone, and something else is taking its place. Something unpredictable, something dangerous, something that doesn't care about pride or authority or who was right. Because in the end, the system doesn't care who fired who. It only cares who can survive. And right now, the question isn't whether Cammy made a mistake. The real question is, how long until that mistake destroys everything she's trying to protect? Everything looked fine on the surface, and that's exactly how the disaster began. Because Cammy didn't wake up one day and suddenly lose control. No, it happened slowly, quietly, in the moments nobody paid attention to. The kind of decisions that don't look dangerous when you make them, but become devastating when you step back and see the full picture. And the biggest of those decisions? Firing Tommy. At the time, it probably felt like confidence, like independence, like taking control of her own future. But here's the problem. Control without understanding the system you're controlling is just an illusion. And illusions don't last. Tommy wasn't just a guy in the company. That's where everyone gets it wrong. Tommy was the structure, the connections, the problem solver, the person who understood how everything actually worked beneath the surface. While others were looking at numbers on paper, Tommy was dealing with people, with relationships, with the real backbone of the entire operation. And Cammy, she chose to remove that backbone. So now the question becomes, what happens when the system starts breaking? Because systems don't collapse loudly at first. They don't explode instantly. No, they weaken. They strain. They start showing cracks in places you didn't even know existed. And that's exactly what the trailer is hinting at. Missed details, unstable reactions, conversations that feel off, like something is missing. And what's missing? Experience. That quiet, unspoken kind of knowledge that Tommy carried. The kind you don't learn in meetings. The kind you don't see in reports. The kind that only comes from being in the middle of the chaos and knowing exactly how to navigate it without making things worse. Without him, Cammy is no longer operating with a full picture. She's reacting, and that's a dangerous place to be. Because reacting means you're already one step behind. And in an industry like this, being one step behind is the difference between staying in control and losing everything. But the most shocking part? Tommy isn't just watching from the sidelines. No, the trailer suggests something much more unsettling. He's active, strategic, and maybe even more powerful now than before. Because when someone like Tommy gets pushed out, they don't just disappear. They adapt, they learn, and most importantly, they come back in a way nobody expected. So now imagine this. Cammy is struggling to hold things together, trying to maintain authority, trying to prove that she made the right decision, while the very person she dismissed is now operating outside her control, possibly building influence, possibly gaining leverage, possibly waiting for the perfect moment to act. Do you see the problem? This isn't just about losing an employee. This is about losing predictability. And unpredictability is the one thing you can never fully control. Meanwhile, inside the company, the impact of Tommy's absence is starting to spread. People notice it. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. The difference in decisions, the hesitation, the uncertainty creeping into conversations that used to feel confident. And once people start noticing weakness, they start making their own moves. That's how power shifts begin. Not with a loud announcement, but with quiet observation. And Cammy, she's standing right in the middle of it, trying to hold together something that is no longer responding the way it used to, trying to lead without the very foundation that made leadership possible in the first place. And the worst part is, the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to fix. Because the damage isn't just external anymore. It's internal. It's confidence. It's trust. It's the realization that maybe, just maybe, she underestimated the one person she shouldn't have touched. And if that realization is starting to sink in now, then what happens when she finally has to face Tommy again? What happens when the man she fired is no longer the one asking for her approval, but the one holding something she desperately needs? And the question hanging over everything now is simple. Is this the moment Cammy realizes she made the biggest mistake of her life, or is it already too late to fix it? Now everything is starting to close in on her. And the worst part is, she can't stop it anymore, because this is what nobody tells you about decisions like the one Cammy made. They don't just disappear after the moment passes. They stay. They wait. And eventually, they come back at the exact moment you're least prepared to handle them. And now, that moment is here. Tommy is no longer just a memory inside MTX. He's a problem Cammy can't ignore. A presence she can't control. A force that, whether she admits it or not, is still tied to everything she's trying to hold together. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Because for the first time since the firing, Cammy isn't in control of the narrative anymore. The balance has shifted. The pressure is real. And the silence around her says more than words ever could. People are watching, waiting, judging. Because in an environment like this, one mistake doesn't stay hidden. It spreads. It echoes. And once people start sensing instability, they don't sit back and hope things get better. They start positioning themselves for whatever comes next. That's how systems collapse. Not all at once, but piece by piece. And the trailer is hinting at something even deeper. There's something Tommy knows. Something Cammy doesn't. Something buried. Something hidden. Something that didn't matter before. But now it changes everything. And that's the real twist. Because this isn't just about leadership anymore. This isn't just about pride or proving a point. This is about survival. Cammy thought she was making a strong decision when she fired Tommy. She thought she was removing a variable, simplifying the equation, taking control of her own path. But what she actually did was remove the only person who understood how to keep the entire structure from falling apart. And now, she's left holding everything. Alone, no safety net, no backup plan, No Tommy to quietly fix what she doesn't see coming. And that's when the fear starts to creep in. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that sits in the back of your mind and asks one simple question over and over again. What if I was wrong? Because once that question takes hold, every decision starts to feel different. Every move feels heavier. Every conversation feels like it carries consequences that weren't there before. And the trailer makes one thing very clear. Cammy is, because this time, Tommy doesn't need her, but she might need him, and that changes everything. So now the question isn't just what happens next, it's this. When Cammy finally realizes the full weight of what she lost, will she be able to fix it, or has Tommy already moved too far ahead for her to ever catch up? The moment you realize you can't undo what you've already done, that's when everything starts to shift. And that's exactly where Cammy is right now. Because this isn't just regret anymore. This is consequence catching up in real time. This is the kind of situation where every past decision walks back into the room at once and refuses to be ignored. And at the center of it all, Tommy. Still calm, still calculated, still the one person who doesn't need to raise his voice to take control of the situation. That's the part that makes it dangerous. He doesn't have to fight for power. He already understands where it sits. And Cammy, she's realizing something she didn't want to admit from the beginning. She underestimated him, not just as a person, but as a system. Because Tommy wasn't just doing a job. He wasn't just managing tasks or handling problems. He was maintaining balance, keeping things stable in ways no one noticed, until he was gone. And now that he's gone, everything is exposed. Every weakness, every crack, every decision that relied on his presence without ever acknowledging it. And the more Cammy tries to move forward, the more she feels it. That absence, that gap, that missing piece that no one else can fill. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't realize how important someone is until the system they were holding together starts to fail without them. And by the time you notice, it's already too late. Because now it's not just about fixing mistakes. Now it's about surviving them. The trailer is setting the tone in a very deliberate way. Tension without answers, pressure without release, and Cammy in a position where she can no longer pretend everything is under control. Because it isn't. And deep down, she knows it. That's why her decisions feel different now. Less confident, more cautious, like she's constantly calculating instead of leading. And that shift, that's dangerous. Because leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about making them with certainty. And Cammy is losing that certainty fast. Meanwhile, Tommy is operating in a completely different space now. No longer inside the system, no longer under her authority. And that alone changes the dynamic completely. Because now he sees everything from the outside. The structure, the weaknesses, the patterns, and possibly the opportunity. And if there's one thing this world has taught us over and over again, it's that the person who understands the system best is the one who controls what happens next. So now the situation is no longer simple. It's not just Cammy trying to fix a mistake. It's not just Tommy being brought back into the picture. It's something much bigger. It's a shift in power, a reversal, a correction, and maybe a reckoning. Because when you push the right person too far, they don't just walk away. They come back. But not the same. Stronger, sharper, and far more dangerous than before. And that's the part Cammy may not be ready to face. Because this isn't the Tommy she fired. This is someone who has adapted, someone who has evolved, someone who no longer needs her approval to matter. And once that realization fully hits, everything changes again. So the real question isn't just about regret anymore, it's about consequence. When Cammy finally stands face to face with the reality of what she destroyed, will she try to fix it? Or will she discover that Tommy has already decided she doesn't get that chance anymore?